What's going on, guys? Welcome back to We Want Picks. My name is Jacob, aka the Freckled Salamander, here to bring you my full card quick pick video for UFC 284. I'm excited for this card. I hope you guys are as well. But before we get into that breakdown, make sure you subscribe if you are new. We have content 7 days a week. Every single day, new content. Angelo's quick pick videos are on Sundays. Mine's on Mondays. We go live, me and Angelo, to talk about the entire fight card, top to bottom, on Tuesdays. Like of the week video on Wednesdays. We're talking about another live stream on Thursdays. We got all our betting videos on Fridays, and typically I also go live for the fights on Saturday. It is a non-stop 24/7 shop. It is a brothel in Amsterdam that never closes. You can come get anything you want at any time. With that said, subscribe, like the video. Let's get right into go to WeWantPicks.com, become a premium member. It is only $10 a month. If you like the content, you wanna support the channel, but you also want to get a little kickback in return. We have my picks, Angel's picks, our bets, early access to stuff, DraftKings analysis. We now have line movement. There is testimonials on the front page. So if you guys are, should I sign up? Should I sign up? There is person after person that will tell you that the premium membership is well worth the $10. It should be $50, $100 a month. It's only $10 a month. Price will never change. Let's get right into the video. Quick picks for UFC 284. First up, we have Zuba versus Elves, and yeah, this is a pretty straightforward fight in my mind, except for the fact I don't think that Zuba needs to really wrestle in this matchup. I mean, he's not a guy that really forces the wrestler. Yeah, he is a wrestler at his core, at his heart. If he needs to get the takedowns, he can get the takedowns. That's kind of where, in this fight, it kind of scares me a little bit for Zuba, right? Because he should be, a little bit of the better striker, definitely the more technical striker. He's a pretty good technical striker. But if there is any instance where he's getting hurt or he's getting tired, which he doesn't really get tired, but if he gets hurt, his default is go to the wrestling. And this dude, Elves, is a pretty dangerous guy on the ground. I don't think that Elves can get this fight to the ground unless Zuba wants to get the fight to the ground. So if I'm Zuba, I keep this standing. I do what I do. I throw that Khabib jab out there. Just eat him up, wait for his desperate shots. If you want to reverse it and play that game, you can. I just don't necessarily think he needs to. If you're Elves in this matchup, you need to take a chance. You need to try and hurt this guy, maybe even pull guard to initiate a scramble, because you need this fight to the ground and you need to somehow try to get on top. But even if he gets on top, I feel like Zuba would be experienced enough and strong enough and technical enough to get out of those positions. And if Zuba does want to wrestle and he gets those top positions, he should be experienced enough to withstand the submission threats of Elves. So obviously the odds reflect it. I am all Zuba in this match. I'll have him in parlays. The money line's a little bit rich for me. I think it was minus 400 and at minus 500. I think it's minus 600 now, but it should be Zuba. Confidence level. And when I talk about the confidence level on these videos, it is already predetermined that the person I'm picking, I think, is going to win. So the confidence level is then from a 1 to 10. So if I pick somebody at a 4, that doesn't mean that I think they only win 40% of the time. I think they win, and it's like it's just a 1 to 10. You know what I'm saying? So Zuba, confidence levels should be about an 8, right? He should win. He should dominate 80%. Yeah, I think that he really, really succeeds in this fight. I got him in parlays. Let's move on. Next, we have Bilder versus Shane Young, and this one is interesting. I'm telling you, this one, we got Shane Young coming off the layoff, which has been a year and a half, maybe almost close to 2 years, something like that. And he should be the better striker in this matchup. And if he keeps it distance kickboxing, he should win this fight. There's going to be some moments there where Bilder's going to try and blitz in, do his stuff. He wants to get this fight to the ground. And when he gets on top, I'm talking when this dude Bilder gets on top position, he is an absolute problem. And you saw one of his fights. It was like he only got this dude's arm and he somehow swung himself on to this guy's back. He's very dangerous in any kind of clinch position. And that's where I see the downfall of Shane Young in this fight. It feels like Shane Young is not comfortable enough in his striking. Maybe he's cleaned that up with the layoff. But it feels like his most comfortable position, where he feels the most comfortable in the cage, is when he is clinching somebody and has them pressed against the cage. But against a guy like Bilder, you don't want his hands on you at all. If his hands get on you at all, he's going to initiate trips. He's going to try and get takedowns. He can even climb on your back from the feet. So I see this as a situation where Shane Young, unless he comes in with a different game plan, maybe he's picked some stuff up in his layoff with the striking, it feels like Shane Young is going to try and keep distance, might get a little frustrated, initiate a clinch, and in any clinch position, especially if this goes to the ground, Bilder is an absolute problem. And I think this finds its way to a ground eventually, and Bilder is able to do what he does in his fight, and that is get on top and absolutely dominate these people. I think one fight he had a guy in an inverted triangle and then put him in like a key lock armbar situation. He's a problem on the ground, and I just feel like Shane Young is comfortable in clinch positions, and that's a worse place to be for Bilder. So I'm going Bilder in this lineup. You know, confidence level, like I said, it's already defaulted that I think he's going to win. Confidence level, it's probably about, I want to say like a 4 or 5, because there is some unknowns with Shane Young with the layoff, and he should be the better striker. But if they start clinching and they put hands on each other, I like Bilder in that matchup. So if it goes to the ground, I'm like 8 out of 10, right, for Bilder. But there's a little bit of some unknowns in that situation. So I'll be about 4, but I think Bilder comes out on top. Next, we have Loma versus Elise Reed, and I am biased. I am absolutely biased. I love this girl, Loma. I absolutely love. I honestly think, and this is a little bit biased, but I think it's 100% true as well. I think she's one of the most underrated and dangerous girls in the 115 division. She's going to be one of the better. Every time she enters the octagon, she's going to be the better striker than most people. Her tosses and her wrestling are improving. And when she gets on top, she is nasty. You saw that in her last fight with the elbows, the boom, boom, raining down elbows. I couldn't believe she didn't get a finish in her last fight. I can't believe this girl hasn't gotten a finish in the UFC. And against a girl like Elise Reed she's going to come out. She's going to look confident. She might land a shot or two in the first round, but then she just starts fading. And the second that adversity and somebody is a little bit tougher than her, she folds, right? She just absolutely folds in her fight. She starts off hot, looks good, might land one shot, gets confident, her hands are low. She's even like trying to taunt people, and then it's boom, 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 boom. And by the third round, she's absolutely done. But the biggest question mark, or not the biggest question mark, but the thing I want to bring up the most for Loma is she's going to be better than most girls that she fights. She's had a lot of mental issues, right? Confidence issues, mental health issues. But that last fight was an absolute breakthrough fight for her. And you can see the tweet. You can go to her page. I retweet it. You can see on her page. That was a big fight for her. Not only was it a fight for her mentally, but there was some real adversity in that fight, and she pushed through where normally it felt like she couldn't do that. In her own mind, she felt like she couldn't push through. I feel like she's going to be a brand new person. This is going to be a breakthrough fight for her, a breakout fight for her. She's going to finally make a name for herself. And against a girl like Elise Reed, where she should have the striking advantage over Elise, definitely the wrestling and grappling advantage over Elise, I think that she finds her first UFC finish, absolutely steamrolls, a late second, maybe an early third round finish for Loma. I love Loma. Extreme striker, very, very good throws, and good top position, and knows how to survive on her back as well if it comes to that. So, Elise Reed is what she is. She's going to look decent in the first 2.5 minutes. Then she's going to start the full. My girl Loma's going to take over, and I love her in this matchup. Confidence level, I think it's like a 7 out of 10. I have her in parlays as well, and I might look for it inside the distance as well. But go to we1picks.com, become a premium member, and see what else I got on that fight, because I got one with plus money that I absolutely love. Let's move on to the next fight. We have Jack Jenkins versus Big Don, and I'm telling you right now, I like this dude, Jack Jenkins. Whoa! Who do I like this dude, Jack Jenkins? If you watch Jack Jenkins, do you know who he looks like? Do you know who he looks like and who he fights with? The way that he boxes, the way that his precision in his boxing, his footwork, the in and out, the head movement, it feels like when you watch him strike that every single strike he throws lands. And it's not 100%, he's not like power punching, but there's like 75% on every single shot, and every single shot lands. He reminds me exactly of Alexander Volkanovski. They both have that tight, quick, smooth boxing, very precise, and it just feels like when you watch Volkanovski fight against Max Holloway, it just feels like every shot lands. And against a guy like Big Don, it's going to be a problem for Don, man. It's going to be a problem for Don. Don is not a technical striker. He's not a technical anything. That dude wants to go in there, throw some wild shit, hope it lands, and brawl. And Jack is going to be way too technical for that. I mean, Don is going to swing big, miss big, and then get hit in the side of the head as soon as he misses. I love this dude, Jack Jenkins. I think he's going to be a prospect. He looks that good on the feet, and he's got good takedown defense as well to boot if Don wants to shoot takedowns. So I'm not worried about all. I am going to load up Jack in parlays this week. I have him in like 2 separate parlays. He is like a parlay piece to me. I think he is that good in this matchup versus Don. I'm giving Jack Jenkins in this matchup, and he's like an 8 out of 10 for me. Let's move on. Jamie Mullarkey versus Francisco, and this is an up-and-comer Francisco who, this could be a real nice spot for him because he is a brawling type guy. He's got decent wrestling as well, but I feel like this is going to be a stand-up match. And if there's somebody if you're a brawler and you want to brawl with somebody, there is no better opponent than Jamie Mullarkey. Jamie Mullarkey is going to have the experience. He should have the speed. The power is probably going to be equal. So in the pocket, Jamie Mullarkey should have the advantages. But once fists start flying, anything can happen. And this is one of those fights where I feel like it's going to be one of those brawls. Whoever can land that, they're both like the Cody Garbrandt fights, right? When they just cock back that right hand, whoever lands it first, it's like, fuck it, here we go. It really feels like this is going to be that fight because Jamie Mullarkey can be very technical, but once he starts brawling, he will stay in the pocket and throw very, very wide shots. And Francisco will do the same thing as well. So, I like Jamie Mullarkey. I think he's an underrated fighter. He's definitely underrated tough. The dude's tough as hell. He can get knocked down and still survive. He's got wrestling in his back pocket that he doesn't really like to use. He should have the speed advantage. The power is probably equal. He's definitely got the experience. He's proven himself to be tough. But this matchup feels like a trap. I mean, Jamie Mullarkey's like, what, minus 200, minus 220, might even be wider than that. I'm definitely going to be looking for Francisco. Jamie Mullarkey's my pick in this matchup because he should, as all the reasons I already mentioned. But if I'm being honest, I'm looking for value. If this Jamie Mullarkey line starts widening even more, 250, 270, minus 300, I'm going to be looking at Francisco early. Like a round 1 finish, a round 2 finish, because those boys are going to be swanging and banging. And Jamie Mullarkey in front of the home fans is going to have that right hand cocked back, ready to go. When he swings wild. And if he hits, he can find a finish. But if he misses, that dude Francisco could be there. So I'd be a little bit careful with Jamie in parlays. I think the odds definitely a little bit wide. There could be some value in Francisco, especially a little bit early. But the pick is going to be Jamie Mullarkey. I think it's about a 5 out of 10 for me. I'm not like super, super high, but I don't think I'm super, super low on him as well. No, I'm not Jamie Mullarkey. I grew out the beard just so people would stop saying I'm Jamie Mullarkey, but Jamie Mullarkey is my pick in this matchup. Rodrigues versus Shannon, Ross, and this is another straightforward one. This feels like a good value parlay piece for me. Like Kleydson, when I'm watching film on both these guys, should have the advantage everywhere. Not only should he have the advantage everywhere, speed, power, definitely in the wrestling, the grappling, but in his last fight, he showed toughness. There's a lot of points in that fight where people could have folded, right? I mean, CJ at some point I think in one of those rounds, he was in like full mount for like 2 or 3 minutes straight, and Kleydson still worked to reverse the position, ended up on top in those, I think, back-to-back rounds. He was in a bad position. So that showed that dog, right? Kleydson has that dog in him. And I know that Ross is going to come in with the hometown fans, but it just feels like when I'm watching him, he's going to be a step behind in every aspect. I wouldn't be surprised if Kleydson comes in and tries to wrestle early, maybe take it to him a little bit, slow down the fight. But I honestly think that Kleydson can win this fight however he wants to win it. I know the odds kind of reflect that as well. They're getting a little bit wider. I have Kleydson another parlay. I think that he's another good value parlay piece, just kind of as I mentioned with Jack Jenkins. I think that's decent value. The odds are getting wider, but Kleydson to me feels like a parlay pillar that you can still get good value on, and I'll probably still look for something inside I think I played, here's a little preview, don't tell Angelo this, but I'm pretty sure I played the under 2.5 on that one, and I'll probably look for Kleydson something inside the distance as well. So I love Kleydson in this matchup. It should be a big breakout fight for him. He should look fantastic. I don't see him in any danger at all in this fight. These are like the last final words where it's going to come back to haunt me, but I love him in this matchup. Confidence level for me for Kleydson is 8 out of 10, just because, I think mostly because we saw that dog that came out of him. So if there's any adversity to overcome in this matchup, you know that he can overcome that and still push through, but I don't think there should be any. I love Kleydson in this matchup. Josh Culibao versus Melsik, and this is a toss-up and a pretty good, accurate line for a toss-up fight. The reason I'm going Melsik in this matchup is because I feel like he's going to be the pressure fighter. Culibao, as fun as he can be in exchanges, is kind of low volume, and he will kind of dance around on that back foot, back along the octagon, where Melsik is that pressure fighter. He will move forward. Last fight, he couldn't really show off what he wanted to show off. He's known as like kind of a wild power guy. It was against that karate style that really kind of gave him issues. Culibao is going to be much easier to engage, right? When Melsik is walking this dude down, he's going to be able to engage Culibao. And as good as Culibao is, as tough as he does get dropped, and he is a little bit sloppy in the pocket. And Melsik seems to me like a little bit more tighter, a little bit more technical. I think the speed is pretty much even, but Melsik seems like he's just got a little bit more edge to the power. It feels like his punches, his kicks have just a little bit more bite to him. And Melsik also will throw that lower leg kick, which will could affect the movement of Culibao, because Culibao does like to kind of bounce around in and out, switch stances, and we'll see if Melsik can kind of beat up that front leg, pressure him, and then lay on the power. But I think this should be one of the most fun fight of the nights. It could be them staring at each other a little bit. We kind of saw that with Culibao in his last fight. They kind of just stared at each other. Once they started going. We could see a little bit of that early, but it feels like in the pocket, I trust Melsik a little bit to be a little bit tighter, hands a little bit higher, and be a little bit tighter and more powerful with those inside shots, where Culibao might be a little bit more loosey-goosey. So it's a toss-up for a reason. I'm picking Melsik. Confidence level because of the toss-up is probably, probably 3 or 4, something like that. But he should have the power advantage. I think he's a little bit more technical in those exchanges, and that's why I am picking him in this matchup. I think it's totally standing 100% of the time, and I think he's just a better striker. So give me Melsik in this matchup. Tyson Pedro versus Modestas. And I'll be honest with you guys, we still do not know what kind of fighter Tyson Pedro is after his long layoff. I know he's got back-to-back first-round finishes, but those were tosses to Tyson Pedro. The UFC said, Tyson, please just finish these guys. We want to make you a guy. So they gave him Ike Villanueva. They gave him Harry Hunsucker. And Modestas is not those two people. I know in his first stint in the UFC, he couldn't get the wins. He was getting finished. I think he had a split decision there as well. But he is definitely going to be a better fighter and the best fighter that Tyson has fought in a while. This is going to be a big moment for Tyson, because if you even saw in those previous fights, he still looks a little unsure, right? Against a guy like Ike Villanueva, against a guy like Harry Hunsucker, even in he didn't just jump on those people early. He didn't pressure them, just start throwing caution at the wind. I'm better than you. I'm gonna put you away. You could see he's still a little bit unsure, and to me, it looks a little bit unconfident in his striking abilities. How am I going to react? The timing. And because he hasn't really had that octagon time, how is he going to react if this fight goes 3, 4, 5, if this goes into the second round, all of a sudden, Modestas is still there. All of a sudden, he's got a bloody nose. How is he going to react? We still don't know how he's going to react. So yes, he should be, in theory, the better fighter, but we still haven't even seen his total package of what he's brought back after the left. We haven't even seen it. We've seen a few strikes, but we haven't seen how he reacts in wars, in exchanges, in adversity. So, with that said, my pick is going to be Tyson Pedro, but I would stay away from him completely. Now, this could look stupid, right? He could come in, get a first-round finish again, because it's kind of a little bit of a layup with Modestas, but I'm telling you right now, if there was a parlay buster, it seems to me like it's going to be Tyson Pedro, because there's just still so many unknowns after the layoff. And this is a good striker in Modestas. He left the UFC. He got a decision win and then a finish in his last 2 fights. He's going to be confident coming in this matchup. Another opportunity to show against the hometown guy, big underdog. This could be an upset moment for Modestas. Now, he's not the better fighter, I don't think. So my pick is Tyson Pedro. But, with Tyson and parlays, that scares me. There's too many unknowns. I'd stay away from it. So my pick is Tyson. Confidence level, I'll put about a 5 out of 10 because I think he should win. But there's still, I want to see a complete package from Tyson before I start putting him in parlays and putting money on him. Now, if he comes in, fights a good first round, knocks this dude out in the second round, I would feel better about that for Tyson's future than if he just comes in and steamrolls this dude in a minute. I want to see a little bit more of a total package before I trust Tyson with my money, is all that is. But Tyson Pedro is my pick. Give me Crute versus Alonzo Menifield. Let me start with Alonzo Menifield because I could not wait. We watched his last fight, and I understand he's getting finishes and this and that. We watched his last fight live, and I could not wait for his next fight. because I thought that he was going to be a favorite, 2-1 favorite, because he's knocking everybody out. He looks the part. He looks big, just blitzing, knocking people out. And I could not wait to fade this dude, because I will say right now, Alonzo Menifield is overrated. Yes, he's blitzing people. He's getting knockouts. But technical-wise, it's kind of like the Duplessis of the 205 division, right? Just kind of hands down, overwhelming people. But once you fight a decent striker, they're just going to step off counter, and you're going to get knocked out yourself. And Alonzo Menifield can't get knocked out. He got knocked out by an OSP jab. But I started looking at this matchup. Angelo texted me originally. He's like, Jimmy Crute versus Alonzo Menifield. I'm like, oh, Alonzo Menifield, he fucking sucks. I'm definitely going to pick Jimmy Crute. And then I was reminded of who Jimmy Crute is. And that dude, if you watch him strike, and tell me I'm not wrong when I say this, if you watch him strike, the way he's bouncing. The way he's like this, he's bouncing like this. And the way he strikes, it's Ronda Rousey. You look at tape of Ronda Rousey when she's striking, and you look at the tape of Jimmy Crute when he's striking, it is eerily similar, and that is not a good thing, because Ronda Rousey was exposed with the striking, and we have seen Jimmy Crute being exposed with the striking. It feels like Alonzo Menifield is just going to do what he does against a not very good technical striker that can get knocked out by pretty much anything, blitz forward, and knock this dude out. The obvious, question mark is, can Jimmy Crute, if he comes in and tries to get the takedowns? But Alonzo Menifield showed some really good takedown offense in his last fight. He started touching Misha in his last fight. Misha got really desperate with those takedowns. Some of them were pretty good entries, and Alonzo Menifield had zero issues defending those takedowns. So, these odds seem kind of crazy to me. I don't even like Alonzo Menifield as a fighter. I think he's overrated. I like him in this matchup. I like him in this matchup. I think he can defend the takedowns. He's definitely got the power advantage, and I don't see Jimmy Crute landing a big shot to Alonzo. I just don't see it. He's just not a very good striker. He's so stiff, and it feels like every time he keeps getting knocked out, he's going to get stiffer and stiffer and stiffer. And if he gets too desperate with the wrestling, Alonzo Menifield will be the uppercuts, knees, whatever it is. So if he can get a takedown and control Alonzo, yes, that's how he can win the fight. I think that's a little bit of a flyer in this matchup. I'm going Alonzo Menifield. I think he's going to be I don't want to say the better striker in a mostly striking matchup, but he should be the more dangerous striker. So I'm going Alonzo Menifield in this matchup. Confidence level, I think it's about a 6. I think it's about a 6 out of 10. I actually kind of like him in this matchup. I'm going Alonzo. Justin Tafa versus Parker Porter, and it is a coin toss for me. This is a coin toss for me. Listen, Justin Tafa, I understand he's got power. I understand he has power, but he's not knocking everyone out. It's not like he was like Derek Lewis in his reign coming up, where he's just like everyone he's facing, he's knocking, he's losing fights. So he's got power, but he's losing fights. So when you talk to me, he's gonna come through and knock out. Why wasn't he doing that to everyone else? Like he should be like an undefeated 10-0 fighter. If you're saying he's got this much power, that everyone's trying to convince me that he has. Parker Porter, he is what he is. Volume striker. He can get hit, but it seems like he's kind of figured this out. It seems like he's kind of figured out the heavyweight division. Now, he hasn't fought anyone lately with the power of Tafa, so he's got a game plan a little bit different, but he's got the wrestling in the back pocket. Once he gets on top of you, he's got very, very good control. I don't know if he's going to get the takedowns versus Tafa, but he should know the dangers that Tafa possesses. He's a pretty good boxer, can lay volume, mix in some takedowns. And with that said, I think he can pull out this fight. Am I confident in it? No, I'm not going to bet on him. I'm not going to do anything like that. But if you're looking for the better overall mixed martial artist, yeah, Tafa's got the one-hitter quitter power. Parker Porter's he's a better mixed martial artist. So if I'm looking at a fight and I'm looking at these two, I got to go with Parker Porter. Like I said, not putting money on him, not super confident. I think he's a better overall fighter. I think he's got the volume. He can withstand and understands the danger Tafa possesses. Maybe mix in some takedowns. I think he can pull this out, baby. Parker Porter all the way. Confidence level, probably about a 2 out of 10. Let's move on. Randy Brown versus Jackie D. I love this matchup. I know a lot of people are pretty high on Randy Brown. I know a lot of people. Guess what, guys? The guy really doesn't have the power you think he does. To me, he doesn't have the power. And when he does have the power, you know how he needs to use that power? He needs to use that power on extended shots, right? He needs to use that length and power through and extend through those shots. He does not have power in the pocket. And guess how Jackie D makes every fight? In the pocket. He stands in the pocket. He turns this into a boxing match. He pressures you. He gets inside of you. And in those short little shots, oh, I just punched the shit out of my microphone. I know you heard the power behind that. In those tight little shots, Randy Brown doesn't have the same power as you see as like a normal fight where he's just like blitzing, throwing these long shots. So, I love Jackie D in this matchup. I think he's able to get inside, do what he does. He doesn't rely on his power. He's not trying to look for finishes, but finishes find him with the way that he's able to throw out volume and power, his natural power without throwing like every shot really, really hard. So I love Jackie D in this matchup. I think he's able to get inside of Randy. I don't think Randy has anything to offer once you crowd him. At distance, yes, and Randy will fade too. So I can see Jack just methodically just breaking this dude down. And Randy's pretty good early at keeping distance, is what he needs in this fight. Front kicks, the jab. But as the fight goes on, it feels like he keeps forgetting how long he is. He starts brawling a little bit more. The hands get low. People are able to close the distance a little bit more, even get takedowns on him. I love Jackie D in this matchup. I think he's a parlay piece. If you want to bet the money line before it gets too crazy, I could see that as well. I think he totally dominates this fight versus Rude Boy Randy Brown. Confidence level, 7 out of 10. Yair versus Josh Emmett. And let's start with Josh Emmett, because when I watched that Calvin Kattar fight, right? And I'm watching this Calvin Kattar fight, and I know that he won the fight. I think some people agree, some people disagree with that. And I know what Calvin looked like after the fight, but I know what Josh Emmett looked like after that fight too. But here's where I found, and here was my conclusion after watching that fight, is that Josh Emmett didn't want to fight that fight. And what I mean by that is he could have came in, tried to box, try to brawl with Emmett. He knows he's got a little bit of the power advantage, so he could have turned this into an actual fight. But he knew that he was not the better boxer, which is it's not a dumb game plan, right? He knew he wasn't the better boxer, so he wanted the easy way out. He wanted to just throw that right hand and hope that it landed, and he was going to put this dude away. It never happened, but he was able to land it enough to where he got the power advantage in the judge's decision in that fight. So, hats off to him. It did work. The issue is, against a guy like Yair, Calvin will just dance around and play that game, right? Because Calvin is a boxer. He wants to throw out that jab, but he'll keep playing that game because he thinks he's winning too, right? If I'm Calvin and I'm throwing that jab and I'm looking at Emmett's eye, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm doing pretty well in this fight. Let me just keep throwing that jab at. Boom, boom, boom. Keep throwing it. Make some combos in every once in a while. But, Yair's not that dude. Yair's not a guy that's just going to throw a jab out, throw a jab out, throw a jab out. Oh, here comes the right hand. Yair's going to throw a jab, and it's going to be boom, boom, boom. It's going to be a 3 or 4 punch combo. And when you're Emmett relying on power to either get this guy out of here, which I don't think he's going to do against Yair, or you're relying on power to win decisions and judges' scorecards, yes, that will work against a guy like Calvin Kattar because he can't equal that power in the way he boxes, but Yair can. I mean, if Emmett is throwing a right hand and landing a right hand, guess what? Yair's going to throw 2 or 3 punches that look just as strong as Emmett's right hand. So now if you're a judge, instead of it being volume versus power, now you have a guy with Yair who can throw volume as well, and he's matching the power. Maybe not the exact power, but if you're a judge and you're seeing Emmett with, right hand, right hand, right hand, and every third time he throws that right hand, Yair's countering it, boom, 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 boom. It's like, okay, now I have this guy that's throwing just as much power, doing equal damage, but he's throwing more volume in Yair. The biggest question mark is, will Emmett try to, I don't think he necessarily wants to wrestle, but will he try to slow the fight down? You saw Ortega was almost doing that versus Yair before, the weird injury happened. He pressed Yair against the fence. He was holding him there. He was controlling him there. Emmett could do that if he wanted to, in my mind. If I'm Josh Emmett, I crowd this kid. I push him up against the fence. I'm stronger. I'm more physical. And I just fucking hold him there. Maybe I look for inside trips and takedowns and stuff like that. But I make this fight boring. I make it boring, especially maybe even the first 2 rounds. Let's bank, especially the first round. Let's bank around, and then let's see what happens in the first or the second and third round, and then maybe go back to that game plan. If I'm Josh Emmett, I come through, I bank around, I hold him against the fence, I keep him there, I win, throws, make sure you're doing some damage because some judges don't like that, But I slowed this fight down. I bank around, then mix around with the feet or with the hands a little bit, and then see how it goes from there. But I think this is Yair's fight 100% all the way. He's going to be moving around. He's going to throw power where Calvin wasn't really throwing the power, and his extended combinations and his creativity is going to be something that the crowd loves and the judges love as well. Because every time he does that wild shit, it's going to be oohs, it's going to be yads, and what do we know about the judges? They are absolutely stupid, and Yair's one of the most judge-friendly fighters in a decision fight you'll ever see, right? Emmett will be marching him down. He's going to be throwing one punch at a time. The judges are going to enjoy watching the performance Yair puts on if it goes to a decision, if he doesn't find the finish. I am Yair all the way in this matchup. Confidence level is probably only about a 5 or a 6 because there is kind of the weird physicality and wrestling of Emmett that we don't know if he's going to implement that. He's kind of shied away from it. We'll see if he brings it in because it's a big fight for both of them, but I am Yair all the way in this matchup. Event time. We have Islam versus the champ, Alexander Volkanovski. Obviously, Islam's the champ as well, but yeah, Islam's going to win, right? I think it's predetermined that everyone pretty much thinks that Islam's going to win. You're going to see people being like, oh, Volk's definitely going to win. It's like, that's ridiculous. I'm a Volk fan, and I think that he's one of those top-level competitors. I think he is one of those Tom Brady's, those Tiger Woods, those Wayne Gretzky's, those Ryan Halls, those absolutely top-level 1% competitors to where he's not coming into this fight thinking, oh, I hope I do well. Oh, I just hope that I can perform. I hope I survive. He's coming in this fight thinking and knowing that he's going to win this fight. And honestly, that could be his detriment in this fight. Because if you are fighting a guy as good as Islam, as just super solid as Islam, especially in one aspect, you have to take chances. And Volkanovski's not necessarily a guy that's going to take chances. He thinks that he can just straight up beat Islam. So he is going to stay tight. He's going to stay technical. He's going to fight like every other fight that he's won because he thinks, hey, I know I've worked hard enough. I know what I'm supposed to do. I can win this fight. So let me do what I do, and I'm going to win this fight. And that's not how you're going to beat Islam. You're not going to beat Islam by being normal. You can't just, it's just not going to work. You have to take chances. You have to try and take a chance on the feet or, on the ground. You do something weird. You have to be weird. The person that is going to be willing to be weird to beat Islam is Fiziev. Fiziev has that don't give a fuck attitude to where he's going to throw wild shit on the feet. He's got decent takedown defense, and he's going to scramble and stuff to get back to his feet. But on the feet, Volkanovski just doesn't have that equalizer power on the feet to be a threat to Islam, and he's not going to take the chances needed. I don't think, anyway, he's going to take the chances needed to win this fight because he doesn't feel like he needs a flyer to win. He thinks he can straight up win the fight because that's just who he is, and that's what has made him as good as he is. Because if you're looking at the 145 division, Volkanovski is probably the least talented guy in the top 10, maybe in the top 15. As far as talent goes, he has just outworked everyone to the top. So I don't think that he thinks he needs a flyer, but that's exactly what he needs in this fight. And for that reason, I got to pick Islam in this matchup. I don't think he steamrolls Volkanovski. I'm starting to warm up to the idea that Islam finds a finish, maybe, third round, fourth round, where he's just kind of worn down Volkanovski. But, I could see the first round being somewhat competitive, maybe stuffs a couple takedowns. Maybe Islam doesn't even try to take down the first round just to kind of prove like, hey, I don't need it. I can win the striking. And then the takedown start coming. So I could see the first round being, a little bit more competitive. I think that Volkanovski has what it takes to be able to survive all 5 rounds. Obviously, the odds aren't as wide as probably people think they should be. minus 400. It should be probably minus 6 or minus 700 in some people's minds. But I do have to go with Islam in this matchup. But look out for I'm telling you, Fiziev. Fiziev is the kryptonite to Islam. And I can't wait to see if they ever fight. I'm a big Fiziev guy. But this has been the full card fight breakdown quick pick video. This one was actually a little bit longer than normal. Hopefully you stuck around. If you did, make sure you like the video. Subscribe if you are new. My name is Jacob, a.k.a. the Freckled Salamander, and I am out. Peace, love,